Greetings. We are going to look at a modern derivation of the area for a circle. Starting with a circle centered at the origin, we have that the equation for this will be x squared plus y squared equals r squared. This is not a function. It fails the vertical line test. If you solve this for y, we get this as the principal square root, and that is just the upper portion of the circle. We're going to use this to integrate the area under the top of this curve, but I'm going to restrict it even more to the first quadrant. And so the limit for my integration is going to run from the origin out to this x-intercept, which will be the distance here, which is the radius. So we're going to call this distance r. So rewriting this, we have that the area will be this quadrant times 4 to get the entire circle. So 4 times the integration from 0 to r, again, coming along the x-axis from the origin out to the intersection of the circle and the axis, that is the distance r. We are integrating this function with respect to x. So now we have this. I'm going to draw a reference triangle because I'm going to do a trig substitution in here to help with the integration. If you look at this and try to integrate this without trig substitution, it might be a little tricky. It'll be interesting to see what you come up with if you don't do a trig substitution. I think some kind of a trig substitution is fairly standard when you see this pattern. So if we draw a reference triangle here, our hypotenuse is going to be r. We are going to let this be x. This is going to be our reference angle theta. And then if you do the Pythagorean theorem, you will complete this and find that this is your base of your triangle. And so if we look at this, we see that our opposite side is x, our hypotenuse is r, so sine theta is going to be the ratio of sides x over r. And we can do several manipulations with this. We can solve this for x for 1. So if I multiply both sides by r, I get that r times sine theta is equal to x, and I can substitute this x into here. Eventually, we'll want to do a substitution. If I substitute theta into here, I'm going to want to integrate with respect to theta at that point and not x. And so I can take the derivative of both sides here and get that this is r cosine theta d theta equals dx. And so I can substitute this in for my dx at some point in the future, and so I can change the way I'm integrating. So right now I'm going to substitute this expression in for x, and so now I'm just going to do some algebra to clean this up. So I'm going to square everything on the inside here. And so I have the square root of r squared minus r squared sine squared of theta dx. I'm not doing my substitution here for dx yet, just because I want to focus on the algebra going on here, and then we'll mess with the algebra when I do that substitution later. And we'll also have to adjust these limits to adjust it for integration according to theta instead of x. So now I can factor this r squared out of here. All right, so I have the r square is factored out. I have 1 minus sine square. You might recognize this as an expression that we get from the Pythagorean trig identity, so we're going to make that substitution there. We're also going to take the square root of r and bring that outside the square root bracket. And since r is being treated as a number and not a variable, we can also pass that through the integrand and bring it out here with the 4. All right, so now I'm looking at taking the square root of cosine squared, and I'm going to have to now deal with the fact that I have mixed terms of integration. I need to switch everything over to theta and eliminate the x terms in here. So the square root of cosine squared is going to be cosine. So we're integrating from 0 to r. These limits are with respect to the x here. And I have 4r out here. So we've already looked at, to substitute dx out, I'm going to insert r times cosine theta d theta. That's going to go in and replace the dx. Now these terms here, again, with respect to x, if I plug them into this formula, I'm looking at the angles that I need to integrate across here. If I put in 0 for the x term here, I get the arc sine of 0, and that's going to give me 0 back. If I put r in here, I get r divided by r, which is 1, and so I want the arc sine of 1, which is going to be pi half. You could also go back and refer to our circle here. If you think about this as the unit circle, since we're integrating across the first quadrant, I'm going from the angle 0 up through the angle pi halves, and so that's going to be my limits of integration here. So doing my substitutions in here, I'm going from 0 to pi half, and this is going to be cosine theta times r cosine theta d theta. All right, so that's everything is now in terms where we can integrate according to theta. This r, again, can pass through the integrand and come out here because it is just a number that we are not integrating across. At this time, it's being multiplied in, so it can pass through the integrand. So we're going to have 4r squared out here, and then we're going to have cosine squared in here. This is what we want to integrate across. All right, so moving from here to inserting pi halves for each of our thetas in this first part, and then subtracting this with 0 inserted for our thetas, we now do some simplifications here. So 1/2 times pi halves is going to give us pi fourths here. So we're going to have sine of 2 times pi halves, which is the sine of pi, which is 0, minus 1/2 times 0, which is 0, plus 1/4 times the sine of 2 times 0. Sine of 0 is 0. So effectively, this whole part that's being subtracted out is going to 0, so we're looking at just this first part. 1/4 times 0 is 0, so we're really looking at 4r squared times the pi fourths. So this in the brackets is simplifying to pi fourths. 4r squared times pi fourths is going to give us r squared pi, because the 4's are canceling, and you've probably memorized this as pi r squared. And so the area of this circle is pi r squared. Now that we have established what the area of a circle is, we can take our model here and rotate this upper half of the circle, and we can create a sphere. So if we take this and we rotate it, we can create a sphere here. So and we can do the same trick if we want to. We can just look at the first quadrant, rotate this, and then double it, and you have the entire sphere. I'm going to integrate from 0 to r, which is whatever the radius of your circle is, becomes the radius of your sphere. And this is going to be pi r squared dx. Okay, so this is the area of the circle here, and then we're taking slices of circles to create our sphere. So our radius is defined by this function, so we're substituting this in for r. The integration of this is a little more straightforward than what we did for the finding the area for the circle. Pi is just the number pi, and so it can pass through the integrand. So we end up with 2 pi on the outside. We're going from 0 to r. The term in here is being squared, so it's an inverse operation, leaving us just r squared minus x squared dx. Integration of this is pretty simple. We are going to end up with an xr squared here, and a 1/3 x cubed, and we're evaluating from 0 to r, and so all of this is going to be multiplied by this 2 pi out here. So again, we just put in our substitution here, so these x's are going to be replaced with r in the first part and 0 in the second part, so we end up with 2 pi times r squared minus 1/3 r cubed minus 0 times r squared plus 1/3 0 cubed. And so we see again that the second half of this doesn't really contribute anything to the magnitude of this, since these are 0, and so they go to 0. So we're really looking at what's going on over here. So we end up with 2 pi r cubed minus r cubed thirds. And so we're just doing a little bit of fraction arithmetic down here. So I have a whole, and I want to subtract a third from that. So I'm going to get a positive 2/3 in here. So we end up with 2 pi times 2/3 r cubed. And so now we just need to multiply these two terms together. Simplifying the algebra leaves us with 4/3 pi r cubed, which was probably your expectation. So we've established the area for a circle. We were able to rotate this first quadrant here to create circles, and so we're essentially creating this stack of circles that creates the right hand side hemisphere of the sphere. We've doubled that to create the entire sphere. And so now we have the volume of a sphere based on our derivation of the area for a circle. Cheerful calculations.